Okay, so I decided recently to reread the Dragonlance books after a long time, but with my kids. So we're starting to kind of start over from the beginning because we had this weird hiatus for about a year and a half, and now my youngest one's really old enough to do it. So as a result, I thought, why not do the deepest dive into Krynn any Dragonlance nerd has ever done, and we'll kind of do it book by book by book, and more importantly, not just one video per book. We're going to do a bunch of videos per book just for the sake of doing it, so we can kind of understand where this whole series came from, at least as far as I'm aware, and where it really has gone over the years, and how it all kind of fits together. So, Dragonlance Chronicles Book One, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, is where it all begins. Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman basically rescued TSR for a while by putting this book together. They had a different author. The book was terrible. That story is really well known, actually. So it's like, I don't really want to go too deep into it, but they came across and they saw some of the early drafts of what was supposed to be a book, and they were like, this is terrible. So Margaret Weiss, I think, kind of took the lead. Tracy Hickman was a game designer. They worked together for years and more novels than I could ever write in my lifetime. But when they work together, it's fantastic. So I read a lot of fantasy novels and science fiction novels, and sometimes when you world build, and I know especially as when I've written my own books, you don't want to world build by giving tons of pages of instruction and say, okay, this building over here was built by the Thieves Guild. This building was built by the diocese of whatever, and here's why the bricks are red and these bricks are purple. It doesn't, it kind of puts the reader to sleep. So these two, when they work together, they really world build by action. So they don't really tell you much about the world unless it's important to what you're looking at or what's going on in the story, which I think is a better way to do it. It results in some much more of a page turner, which I really appreciate. So the story opens in the Inn of the Last Home, and Tika Whalen is kind of cleaning up, getting ready for the night. The inn is essentially, as far as we see it, a restaurant and bar. And of course, being pre any kind of TV, internet, whatever, the restaurant and bar is where you got all your news, right? So it really is where the local population goes to find things out and see what's going on in the world. And I think that's important because this is the center point for the launching of a story. So in the middle of this preface that goes on called The Old Man, this guy appears, and it's weird because the inn is actually built up in the trees, and they normally hear somebody come and say, how did this guy get at the door without us hearing him coming? Doesn't matter. He just showed up, and they go, okay, there's a dude at the door. And he comes in and starts to rearrange furniture, and Tika's like, what the hell is going on? But it's really foreshadowing kind of what's coming next. There's a big thing about to happen because this unusual dude showed up. The unusual guy is really important to the story later. And by the way, his absent-mindedness is some of the funniest stuff I've read in fantasy in a long time. He is a very high-level mage. You'll find out a lot about him later. He's not exactly a mage. He's a little more than that. But he is kind of absent-minded and always forgets where he puts things. Like his hat winds up missing quite often. He can't remember not to shoot fireball in too small of a room because, it kills everybody in the room, like yourself. Bad idea. But it does really foreshadow things. And the thing I really like about it versus some other books I've read is the emotion really jumps off the page. The feeling that I really want to go here. I want to get a drink. I want to, try the spiced potatoes that come out of the kitchen. But the inn and Tika and the owner of the inn, Odik, really do play center parts of the story as they go forward. So right from the beginning, the authors are just moving us along, and they're going, okay, we're not going to show you anything that's not important to the story, right? We're not going to go into, hey, Tika, when she was a kid way back, 10 years ago, she was playing, it doesn't matter. It's not pertinent to exactly the story. The backstories are important, but the backstories to the characters do come in as it applies to the action of the story, which I think is brilliant writing. So we're going to dig deep into these novels over the next coming months, and who knows, maybe years. But this is book one. We're kicking off here, and I hope you guys stick around for all the videos. If you're curious how I manage all my social media, it's through a platform called One for All Social. Great system. You can write your post once and send it to every platform. You can set up a timer, and you don't have to say, oh, I'm going to go to Facebook and post this. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. You go to one dashboard, and it sends it everywhere at once. It's fantastic stuff. Check it out. Thanks.